What's up, family? Welcome back to the channel. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. This is like the fourth take of this because every time I started, I was just like, blah, blah, blah. I've got to do better. I've got to do better. But no, listen, thank you all for tuning in for another video. Today, we're going to pick up on, we're going to add another installment to our Keep Rising series. And I hope you're ready for this conversation. Before we jump into it, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that alert notification bell. Consider joining our community, volunteering in our community, and possibly financially supporting our community if you're able to. And then also, we have merch. Check it out. It's dope. Need I say more? Okay, so let's jump into this conversation a little bit. Let me just kind of give you some backdrop on this series again for those of you who may not know or who may not be as familiar with this one. I do encourage you to go back and watch the video from last week. It was called Keep Rising. There is no promised land, or it might, yeah, there is no promised land, Keep Rising. It was the first installment of this series. And this series is basically just a way of encouraging you guys, or you all, and all of us really, to embrace opportunities to learn, grow, expand, and improve in areas that tangibly mean something to you as a way of exploring your personal capacity, your creativity, or your even just your contentment, just whatever it is. And so, in our last episode, we discussed the reality that there is no promised land, and I actually went through a few lengths of just kind of showing how a lot of that still comes from this superstitious ideology that there is this creator with a plan, and so there is a way that the world should be. I let go of should be when I let go of the idea of a creator. I then just realized there are ways that things can be. Um, and whether those things will be is going to be based off of our capacity and will. Um, but there is no promised land, in that as of now, making life meaningful requires a lot of figuring it out. We talked about reconciling within ourselves, even long after deconversion, that there isn't a predefined plan, blueprint, or outcome. We are out here on our own, but we, and when I think about that, I don't know, the imagery that pops in my head when I just said those words, and that's what caused that pause. We are out here on our own. I don't know why, but the imagery that I'm getting is like space primates. But no, that, we're out here on our own. But when we take the long view of history, we can draw a great deal of inspiration from our capacity as a species to rise and unlock new possibilities for not only ourselves, but also the world around us, the world that we live in. And so hopefully this series will be a constant reminder to all of us to keep rising, even when it feels like it's difficult, or even when the road ahead has, a cornucopia of obstacles, to still make that choice to keep rising. And just to quote Michelle Obama, when others, go low, keep rising. I paraphrased, but you get it. So, um, no, now that we know that there's no promised land, in part two of this conversation, I kind of want to talk a little bit about where do we go from here. So, like when you and this, I think this would be really helpful, especially for people who have just recently deconstructed or just recently deconverted, who are trying to figure out, okay, what is life without God? And it's actually bigger than that, right? It's not just what is life without God? It is what is life without a pre-described, or pre-prescribed purpose? What is life without a pre-designed design? What does life become now? And for many people, this is a often like gut-wrenching struggle, you know. So where do we go from here? What do you do the moment you realize that, okay, there's no God guiding me, there's no karma making sure that the bad guys are going to get what's coming to them? You know what I'm saying? My ancestors are not working things out in the spiritual realm so that they could work out for me in the natural realm. I'm literally out here by myself, other than the relationships that I build with other people. There is no big guy in the sky that's watching out for me, that has a, what was it? I know the thoughts and plans that I have for you. Nope, not there, and even somebody else even knowing thoughts and plans that they have for you has nothing to do with how your life is actually going to work. I don't know why I bought into that in the first place, but the big point is, like, so where do we go from here? I think the first thing we do is we embrace the reality of what here means across the full spectrum of your existence. And I try, with my work with people, I try not to go too far with with getting too granular with information like this, because everybody's here kind of means something different based off of your perspective of what your lived experience is. And so I don't really give anybody any shortcuts out of this. Like, when it comes to life, for the people that I work with, and that's kind of a little bit what you're getting here. For the people that I work with, my main thing is helping people become masterminds of their life. Like, you have to become the most informed person about you. You have to become a subject matter expert on you, and it can't just be, just based off of your whims. And this is one of the things that I definitely always like to talk to people about, who spent a long time, in superstition, religious superstitious beliefs. It's like, a part of that is not just I was taught this. A part of that is not just I was indoctrinated to believe this. A part of that is also I believe things that aren't true. And so the moment you know that about yourself, or at least that's what I did for me. Like when I deconverted, it was like, oh snap! Like, so you've spent more than 2 decades building this muscle of believing things that are not true. You know, that's a habit that you have to now intentionally displace. You have to intentionally unpack that habit, and replace it with new habits, new skills, new understandings to get you out of that habit. And that typically doesn't happen overnight. So I know for me, it was immediately realizing that, oh yeah, dude, you're still the type of dude who might believe something that's not true, because it's not just that someone told you something that was not true. It was just that you did not yet honor the process of verification, for a lot of reasons. Some of those reasons was I didn't want to offend other people. And, trying to verify information I found out turns out to be very offensive. um, but no, so you embrace the reality of what here means across the full spectrum of your existence, emotionally, financially, relationally, however you would define spiritually. And the reason that word still exists in my vocabulary, and I've done a whole video on this for those of you who are curious, is because, outside of just people who are making shit up, when I look at what people tend to define as spiritual experiences, all of their descriptions rest solely within the natural. Now they typically attribute some type of supernatural reasoning behind it, but they are 100% describing sociological and psychological, in most cases, or neurological experiences or phenomenons. And though they use supernaturalism as the reason for those things, I am well studied enough to actually know the chemical reasons and the sociological reasons that those things are happening, and still kind of, in many ways, validates those experiences outside of the need to appeal to supernatural forces. So, and it's really a good word in that sense. For that sense, and I'm not going to defend that here. Go back and watch that other video. But no, where are you in all those places in your life across that full spectrum of things that are important to you? And this is why I try not to get granular here, because when you list these things off, what you find out is that for different people, these things hold different places of priority. Some people, finances just don't mean anything to them, and they, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're super duper rich or and don't have, got 99 problems and money is not one. It's just, their worldview just don't need it, don't engage that way, blah blah blah. And so when you try to get really granular with things, you create these things that, in my view, absolutely kind of dehumanizes people and creates these anxiety provoking event that forces people to start caring about things that they either don't really care about, don't need to care about, or not really ready to care about. And so then you invest all of this energy into something that's not helpful for you anyway, and is not going to improve your quality of life according to your worldview. To use somewhat of a crude adage here, it's like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And just to kind of remove some of the crude out of it, like, just because you're leading him to water doesn't mean he was thirsty. you know and voila. So embrace the reality of your here. I've used two thought experience to help me engage this idea, and that's life as a movie and life as a game. All right. So the thought experiment of life as a movie is typically just life as a unscripted movie where you're the main character. This helps me explore the tone, the setting, and genre of my life as is, including my role in it as a character, as the main character, in a very relatable way that allows me to be somewhat judgmental without being condemning. So if I was watching my character in a movie, what would I be yelling at the screen right about now? It's a creative way for giving voice to the underlying and often unspoken thoughts and concerns while exploring my character's capacity to further impact my story. But then life as a game, which is typically more like an open world survival RPG. This helps me explore the possibilities connected to my current capacity and potential future capacity based on iterative gains from world exploration, cooperative play, skill stacking, and inventory building. And so, in other words, it's, what can I do? Where can I be? How can I engage this game? And what I want to do in this video is share with you 8 lessons that I've learned about dealing with my here from engaging these thought experiments. And hopefully a few of them might be helpful in your story and your character development. And so the biggest one, or the first one for me, I want to say the biggest one, but the first one for me was just getting healthy enough to engage, right? And it's just like, again, kind of using the life as a game ideology is building your character, so health, fitness, rest, and resetting, or what I kind of call iterating, became very important to me. Physical health is significantly correlated with life satisfaction. I cannot overstate that. And the truth is, this is more about chemicals in your body than the visual of your body. Um, you just have like, and I'll just say for me, it was damn near life changing, like a spiritual experience. Just starting to walk every day, getting a certain amount of steps in every day, starting to be a little bit more mindful of what I'm eating, when I'm eating, why I'm eating, how I'm eating. Which I am not by any stretch of the imagination a person who's like really dogmatic on nutrition and things of that nature. I kind of eat what I want to eat. My viewpoint on eating is that I eat for 2 reasons: for energy and for experience. So I like to taste things, and I like things that taste good. But no, this is not about necessarily, looking a certain way. This is really more about feeling a certain way, and that certain way is just feeling your best. Healthy mind and a healthy body becomes the goal. I'll remind you here that 6-7 years ago I was over 500 pounds. Just 2 years ago I was still over 300 pounds, like 380. Today I'm right at 200, sometimes 205, sometimes 195. I be feeling especially well on those 195 days. But no, you can critically engage your health in a way that makes sense with your life goals. Um, for me, I wanted to be healthy enough to do more. I wanted to increase my odds of being around a little longer. I wanted to be able to do things with my children. But even beyond that, the benefits that I had heard people talk about before, but I didn't really get until I started integrating exercising into my routine. And that was just clarity of mind for me. And maybe that clarity was always kind of there, but just the energy wasn't really there to think things through. And now I'm like a dog with a bone, man. Well, y'all know, I tell you, y'all see it. I'm hyper productive. But yeah, that's the first part. Get healthy enough to engage. Figure out what that means to you. When you're doing kind of like RPGs, you can kind of you can either choose your characters based off of their skill sets, or you can build your character, starting from the top, and determine what that character kind of needs to be able to healthily engage in this world. And that healthy engagement ultimately, in those games means in a way that won't get you killed. But also in a way that helps you reach your goals. And that's the big thing here. What are your goals, and what type of character profile do you need to have? Not even that you need to have, but what type of character profile would most likely help you hit those goals? And then you experiment with it, right? But then from there, you explore your world. Like, get out of the house, get some sun on your face, put yourself in nature, be a tourist of the world around you, because I mean, like, that's literally what you have to do in an RPG. Otherwise, you're not going to know how to play the game. If you're not actually getting out there, talking to some of those NPCs, and seeing what they're selling and what they're telling you about the world, if you're not visiting the little coffee shops and baristas and stuff, if you're not stopping by the little chest and things of that nature, then you may survive the game, but you probably won't do very well in it, and it probably won't be very enjoyable for you. So take a lesson from that and become a tourist, if you will, of the world around you. Pay attention, ask questions, start conversations with strangers. This is actually one of the first steps that I advise emerging leaders to take when wanting to launch a local community. If you're in a place and you're like, I think I'm really getting this burden of building community, then one of the best places to start and to kind of reinforce that idea is to just start talking to people in your community. To start like literally becoming up. Here's this word again. Become a subject matter expert on your community and what it needs. And also become when you kind of take that tourist view, it gives you an idea to it gives you an opportunity to see things that you likely saw before but just didn't appreciate. And so you get to see some of the strengths of your local community while also seeing some of the weaknesses, which either way gives you insight into opportunity. And so explore your world. The next one is finding your flow, which this was big for me, which I started this process in 2014. Like, one of the first things I started doing, and this will probably shock people, but I made the decision to stop answering my phone. Like, if I was not expecting your phone call, I am not going to answer your phone call. If you leave me a voice message, I will review the voice message and call you back at the next feasible time that I have. If you text me, call me, I will not. And the reason I started doing that is because I realized I was losing so much time in conversations, and none of those conversations were helping to move my life forward. Um, and none of the, like, and it was a lot of times it was me giving advice to people for hours on end, and those people wouldn't even be taking the advice. Or it would just be people who'd call just because they were bored and just wanted to talk. And because I am naturally somewhat of an accommodating person, I just, hey, I'm going to talk. We'll talk, and so we'll talk for hours on end. And I realized when I was writing my first book, Insignificant, that this is killing me, in more ways than one. Number one, it was just a huge strain on my mental, uh, and then it was also, I kept trying to figure out, like, why wasn't I getting anything done? Why did I have all of these unfinished projects? And I realized it's because I'd never done anything to really safeguard my life against distractions. And it was partly because I felt like, who am I to have the audacity to decide that I'm not going to answer the phone? It's my phone. It's my life. It's my time. And as you can see, I've become very adamant about not letting anybody force me into a conversation. You can thank 2014 for that. But no, find the flow. Find the things that work well for you, and then stick to them. Build the filters around your life, and that's really what your routine is. Your routine is a filter around your life that keeps you in contact with the things that you want to be in contact with, and kind of discourages contact with things that you don't want contact with. And so, in very very real ways, that can be helpful. um, uh, Develop a predictable routine. Um, and I say this for a myriad of reasons. If every day is unpredictable, then the plan is a surprise. That'll hit you later. If you want to reach a goal, planning and sticking to the plan is how you find out what works and what doesn't work. And so if every day is just impulsive, predictable, then that's often great for on the spot enjoyment, but it's not necessarily great for long-term goal alignment. So if you really got some goals that you're trying to reach, it's going to be some plans that are going to help you get there. And also finding your flow helps you get comfortable with your pace and your rhythm. And that keeps you from getting bulldozed by others. Once you've kind of found your routine, that okay, I need this amount of sleep and I need to get up around this time to be kind of like at my optimum, and I need to take a shower, and then after that, or I need to exercise, and then I need to take a shower, or however you flow, bruh. And then maybe I need to eat, maybe I need to meditate, and then by this time I need to do this. And I'm not saying it has to be, again, it has to be that granular, but it can be very helpful of bringing some type of predictability and stability to your routine, because again, it's also going to help you be able to identify relationships that work well for you. I've seen a lot of I've had to counsel a lot of people through a lot of high friction situations that could have been easily mitigated had the people involved known that there was some pacing and rhythm issues up front. But often we don't know these things until we start living cooperatively with others, because cooperation will often require a pace, which brings us to that next one. And that's, where do we go from here? Change mode to cooperative. You can single player mode will only get you so far. At some point, you got to get some other players in the game with you. And so it's time to build relationships around the things that matter to you and your comrades. Find people that you have shared interest around. And yeah, it can be like fluff stuff like, oh, we like the same movies, or we like the same sports teams. That's good. That's nice. But how about we want to address some of the same community issues? Or how about, we want to start the same types of businesses? You got all types of things out there. But the big idea here is really moving your relationships from beyond superficial and actually cultivating substantial relationships. This can't, your relationships can't just be about good times and stroking each other's ego. If you got goals that you want to hit, I mean, it can be if you have no goals. Much of my family's relationships, that's how their friendships are. Their friendships are just people to hang out with, and share each other's wins. And so every time we have a win, it's somebody tell, oh, I won, I won, I won. But then what I started noticing is that when any of them were having losses, they'd isolate themselves from the group until they felt like they were winning again. Which helped me realize very early on that they didn't understand the utility of relationships. Because if I can only share my wins with you, I don't know what relationship this is. And so these are more like, I hate to be crass, but just like circle jerks. If your friendship circle is just a circle jerk, this might be a reason why you're not hitting some of the goals that you want to hit in your life, you know. And I'm just saying. And some blind spots in life, you know, could have been covered by a relationship. This is reality. And so, you know, relationships for me is how do we help each other survive the pale blue dot and enjoy the journey along the way? And so then from there, study the replay. This is the hardest one for people. Have an honest conversation with yourself about where you are and how you got here. And also have an honest conversation with yourself about where you want to be and how you can get from here to there. And the thing that I encourage people to do is always keep the focus on you. Why? Because you can control you. There are a lot of people in my life who's done me wrong, and I mean a lot, a lot. My superstition and my time in religion did not serve me well. It did not. It for me again. It doesn't do this to everybody, but for me, it robbed me of critically engaging my relationships and the way that I was engaging life. So, in many times, set me up for failure over and over again in the realm of false expectations. My expectations were oftentimes not in alignment with the reality that I had lived and experienced. But coming out of that gave me permission. Hello, to actually engage life critically and do the damn math. And that's kind of what I do now. And so, because of that, a part of that math realization for me was there was nothing that I could do to change any of the people who've done me wrong. There's nothing I could have done to keep them from being them, you know? So I don't focus on what they did wrong because I have no power in that realm. I have no influence in that realm unless I'm still in relationship with them and they're the type of people who like hearing what they did wrong. Let me know how many of those people you find, you know? Um, and so, and again, I don't have any power to keep them from doing that, you know. But what I do have the power to do is to hold myself accountable to learning from that, you know, and to saying, okay, because there's several things I set myself up for over and over again. You know, I just want to give another chance, and you know, God could have done something and all this and blah blah blah. And it's like, man, but you've seen this game before, like you've played this game before, and like you're pretending like you did not know there was a hole there, and like you knew that there was a hole there. That was my experience. And so now coming out on the other side of that, when I go back and have these honest conversations with myself about anything and about, you know, my focus is on me, not them. Um, I'm not looking for fault. I am looking for responsibility because responsibility is something I can assign myself. I sincerely hope they get the help they need and become better people, but I will not be waiting around for that to happen. I now know how to recognize the flags and move the fuck on. And so that's what I do. And I don't feel bad for doing that anymore. And it's like, well, what if you misread the flags? Well, they will live their life, continue, because me misreading anybody's flag and deciding not to engage in that relationship is not me, you know, giving death sentence. So life will continue. But no, so the focus is on me. What can I do? How did my decisions lead me here? You know, what decisions could I have made differently? What red flags did I ignore? What opportunities did I not capitalize on? What opportunities did I capitalize on? What things did I get? Did I do well? What things did I get right? What did I maximize on? Like I literally do this. Um, uh, I've been doing it for the past 10 years every year, but I also do this every quarter as well. Um, but it's just like, okay, you know, reviewing everything, and you don't let your mistakes haunt you. You use your mistakes to propel you forward. One of the biggest things, and I think I've shared this in another video for me about breaking away from religion and religious superstition and the idea of a creator watchman God who needs me to do things that he wants me to do without his ability to tell me to do them, is I'm no longer afraid of mistakes. And so I don't have sorrow, shame, and regret that I attach to mistakes unless it was something that was a little more than a mistake. And I think we know what those types of things are. But no, like if I know I'm actually trying to do my best and trying to engage life and trying to learn, then I don't attach things like sorrow and shame to getting it wrong, or to thinking that something was going to work and then it doesn't, or investing in something and then it fall flats. And instead, I put the weight on myself and with like excitement to learn from it. Like, oh, okay, what did I learn? Because that's the beauty about engaging any experience, is that there's always more information on the other side of trying than you could ever have on the other side of not trying. You see how that works? And so, and I don't know, I guess as a data centric person, that means the world to me. All right, so let's turn up the heat a little bit. And literally that's the next kind of lesson, is don't be afraid to intensify the gameplay on purpose. Um, one of the things that I used to love doing as a kid that I now do the reverse of, is I used to de-intensify the gameplay. Or is it detensify? It's one of those. But I used to lower it. You know what I'm saying? I used to lower that some bitch. But no, I used to lower the gameplay. So gameplay is normally normal. I'd get in there, go into the settings, drop that mug all the way down to easy. There's so much to explore in that, right? Because this is how so many of us actually engage the world around us. But now what I do is, when I go to the games after I've played it for a while, so now I got to talk about Beat Saber, especially like Beat Saber on the Quest. I play it a little bit at normal, and then I increase the difficulty. And then once I play it a little bit there, I increase the difficulty some more. And this is actually how I engage games now. But it's not only how I engage games, this is also now how I engage my life. Don't be afraid to crank up the difficulty settings in your life. A very familiar phenomenon for millennials is going back to, ooh, darn it, an alert popped up and I missed what I was going to say there. Nope, I remember it now. Major phenomenon that millennials and Gen Zers and Xers or whatever may remember, is that you started realizing that some kids were performing or behaving poorly in class because the difficulty was not high enough, which means they needed more challenge. And so sometimes maybe realize that maybe life has gotten too easy for you and you've just been playing it at this level for so long that you've forgotten that this is just this is kind of boring for you, and maybe you're self-sabotaging out of boredom. Crank up that difficulty, see how you do a little there. Another one is, remember to zoom out to get a better view. And this is literally one that I've used to help me just in the corporate world. It's literally a mantra for me. I need a better view. I need a better view. I need a better view. Always, look for those opportunities to zoom out to get a better view of the world, the other players in the world, the games that are being played, the consequences of those games, and the potential gains of those games. Um, your default view is never going to be the complete view, and even having a complete view right now is something that is really really hard to have. It's probably easier now to have a complete view than it's ever been before, but that still may not be saying much. So, and the last one that I'll kind of close this out with is, use this as treat life as your origin story, right? This is your story for who you're becoming. Each moment in life is a part of our character development journey, and this may be the most important arc in your story. That's how I treat every arc in my story. Maybe that makes me a narcissist, but every arc in my story is the most important arc in my story while I'm experiencing it, while I'm going through it, while I'm engaging it, because I want to get the most out of that moment. And that's been the freedom for me. I think before, when I was in religious superstition, I thought that there was something wrong with treating life like like a game, you know, that something was immoral about that. But I've since realized that that was the whole reasons we started developing games in the first place, was to help us explore new ways and different ways and perhaps even better ways to do life. So that's our second installment of this series. And so the big point here is keep rising. And I hope I've said something here that will make that easier for you. I hope I've said something that'll put some more tools in your toolbox, some more ideas in your knowledge base. That'll give you the encouragement you need, or the instruction you need, or maybe even just the thought processes you need to take those extra steps so that you can create a life that you actually enjoy. And that's one of my major goals. You know, I'm not out here to build community just for, you know, for building community's sake. I believe that building community is healthier, is a healthy way or healthy avenue for individuals to find life enjoyment. And ultimately that's the goal, is to have happier, healthier people, so that then you can have happier, healthier relationships, so that then we can have happier, healthier outcomes. That was a lot of H's there. But thank y'all so much for tuning in. Please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that alert notification bell. Consider joining our community, volunteering in the community, financially supporting, and check out the merch. Oh yeah, by the way, Bible study. No, not Bible study. The ex-pastor call-in show. It's coming up. It's this weekend. Can't wait to see you all there. I love you all. Thank you for hanging out with me. Until next time, keep rising.